And what up, everybody? Sorry about the 1 minute delay. I really hope that I'm coming in clearly. It looks like my worst bit rate or my worst kbps or kbps is equivalent to or the best kbps that I had on Wednesday. So it's like the highs or the lows are higher and the highs are, I don't know. How y'all doing? Rolling up in the chat. What's up, Trail Dust? Robert Lonis, Ken Boltman, Dylan Corwin, Transcendental Artist Studios. How do, Sulbert? I know you're in my ear. MTN Home Forge, what up? Mick Chu, War Tree. Good thing you're here. Cool. Robert Lonis. A lot of people popped in early. Dogbone, how do, Bobby? And scrolling. You guys are just conversing. Paul Orchard.
Rolling.
The
setup works.
Yep. John Burnell, how do? I want to, before we get started, I don't have it set up. Well, I have it set up, but I'm not using it for this show. But moving forward, probably starting next week, I'm going to be switching the voice channel from Blacksmiths Church open channel to Blacksmiths Church stage. It will work the same way, but you will have the hosts are able to constantly speak. That would be me, Sully, and Speargrass when he's in attendance, and guests. Any of you will be able to join, listen in, and if you want to say hi, want to ask a question or what have you, you can. There's a button that you can click to raise your hand, and we can call on you, and that's kind of just preparation for some things that we have, ideas we have in the back end where we need to keep the show a bit more flow. So it's not super important right now, but it's good practice to get into. Hey, Anson.
Talking stick.
Yeah. It'll keep things from getting
out of hand.
Yeah. What's up, Boar? What's up, John? Michael Robertson, how do? Bill Corey, what up? Robert Whitney. I'm assuming I'm coming in clear because nobody's saying, I can't hear you, or spinning wheel of death, or whatever.
Hold on. Let me log in one of my alter egos, and I'll give you some criticism. No, we're spinning wheel of death. What's going on? This show sucks.
Okay, wait. Now Coffee says spinning wheel of death. No, see what's going on is
yeah, but to be fair, John Coffey's internet is rubbing two sticks together. So
that is true. And so, as far as I've been able to tell, it is my internet. It is my connection to the internet. Download speeds are fine. Upload speeds are crap. I was getting 1 to 2 megabytes per second upload, which is no es bueno. Hey, Britton Hammer. And today it was, instead of Wednesday where it was bouncing 1 to 2, today it's bouncing like 7 to 5, so there will be periods where it's like sudden frame drop, but it's bouncing back up quicker. So it legit, there's nothing I can do about it. Morning, Wayne. So
morning and evening, everyone.
Evening. So yeah, right. That's me. Morning, Silbert. That was my kind of news announcement. So.
Right. Yeah. Tell you what, man, I had a heck of a week. I don't know. Work was, I guess, mediocre. It was only like an 80-hour work week, but man, I just came off of a 38-hour shift that it was horrible. Not horrible like anything went wrong or anything, but it was like I showed up, for the first shift, Well, for starters, I didn't realize I was working straight through. I thought I was like, night shift and night shift. I didn't realize that I was night shift, day shift, or night shift, day shift, night shift, day shift, and I was like, I didn't realize that. So I did not plan accordingly. I only brought one pickle, and whew, boy, tell you what, running out of pickles sucks. But
I bet.
in any case, I mean, but I have enough munchies that I'm not going to starve to death or anything like that. And I've always got like 3 days worth of food in my truck. Well, we were halfway there, and my cousin, he's like, yeah, it's just like, at least we know we're going to be out there the whole time. We don't have to worry about getting a hotel or something. And I was like, wait, what? And I just kind of played it up, and I looked at the dispatch, and I saw that, we were slotted for all 4 shifts, and it was like, crap. All right, well, anyways, well, I showed up for it was what was going to be the second shift of the rig move, and nothing had been done yet. And I was just like, these guys have been out here for 14 hours already, and it's like, oh crap, this is gonna suck. And yeah, so I was out there, and then when I got done on one end, I had to go to the other end at daylight and start putting it all together. And it's like, oh, well, they're like, oh, we've got an 8-hour inspection on the derrick. And it's like, oh. Yeah, I finally got released last night at just after midnight, and drove in, and about a 3-hour drive in. And I mean, I think the reason it made it, what was bad about it, wasn't that I was out there so long. It was that I was working the whole time. I mean, it's like there might be 5 minutes in between doing this task or that task. So there was no time to just like pull over into the corner and sleep for a few hours, which is the normal thing. Normally I'm out there for 30 or 40 hours. I've had 3 or 4 naps that stretch into the 3 or 4 hour range, so it's not a big deal. You get to nap and catch up, but yeah, I didn't get a single nap, and I mean we were just going for including drive time, 38 hours. And so I got in this morning, and I looked at my phone, and I was like, I am not even going to set an alarm for church. If I sleep through it, I sleep through it. And I went to bed, and then I still woke up an hour beforehand and went, well, I guess I'm going to make it today.
Yeah, pretty much.
I wouldn't let that happen.
Yeah, Robert Lunas, I don't know about a run on pickles, but I do keep 2 gallons on hand. I go through about a gallon a week, and just in case there's a run on pickles, I've got a backup gallon.
Yeah.
Daniel Baca. No, we don't work for the same outfit. We work for our companies are competitors. His company bought like everybody else in there, not everybody, but pretty much everybody else in the area that does what we do, except for the company I work for. And we look at them, and our company's just like middle fingers in the air, so.
Yeah. Hey, Paul Fontanini. And Dylan, as an electrician, I can't just run fiber straight to the house because we don't have before we get to asparagus, I'm going to say, hey, Johnny, how you doing? Wartree Ironworks in the house.
Yes, hello.
So while I got you, before we get to the topic of the week, just say hey to Mr. Wartree, and
hello everybody. Been a while.
Uh-oh.
I too usually sleep through church, but I made it today.
And yeah, Kevin, yeah, man, I ran into this thing where I've got all these pickle jars. I don't know what to do with them. It doesn't feel right to throw them away. And I mean, like the plastic ones, I'm okay with because I wouldn't reuse those for anything. So like when I buy the best made pickles, they come in in a plastic jug. I just crush that up and throw it away. But the glass ones, I'm like, well, so I do have one of them that I use for making sun tea. And then it's like, and then every week I add another 1 gallon glass jar to the pile, and I'm like, what am I going to do with these? I mean, it just doesn't. I don't know. Should I just throw them away? I mean, anybody got any ideas? Because
Are you sure you're not describing my house? Because I have pickle jars all over the place. They're full of sugar, rice, and cereal.
I love pickles.
I mean, it's a glass gallon jar. I mean, it seems like that is so handy for so many things. I just, for the life of me, can't
Plus,
figure out what.
plus the pickle juice. Even after you're done eating the pickles, like
can drink it.
Well, you can drink the pickle juice. You can use it as a mixer. You can dip your fingers into it and splash it on a sandwich for extra flavor. Yeah, it's delicious. What's up, Britton Hammer?
Yeah.
But yeah, I love pickles. I don't eat enough of them. I think
neither do
they're
I.
a healthy.
My wife loves the hell out of them.
Yeah, they're a healthy and integral part of a well-balanced yamas, and I don't get enough of them.
Good way to hydrate too.
Yeah, exactly. Oh yeah, absolutely. I learned that in Key West.
Kimchi, Britton Hammer Fords make kimchi. Man, I made some kimchi. Oh, maybe about 2 years ago. Oh, God, it was amazing. That is so much fun too.
Yeah,
And pickled eggs. Yeah, every once in a
Yeah,
while,
I
I'll go
love
out and buy
pickled
one of them
eggs.
big old crates of eggs and just.
I haven't eaten breakfast yet. Can we not talk food? Roy's having issues with FedEx and anvils again. So my
Blacksmith water and pickle juice sandwich.
yeah
There you go, Anson. That's the best.
yeah. Anson, when are you gonna bring over my wooden anvil stand and vice horse thing? You need to come down anyway. But anyway, all of that, well and good.
Moving on.
Moving on, yeah, Dylan. We do RG6 here, but I'm not posh or nothing.
Why?
Oh my. Y'all still talking pickles? Come on. Well, I didn't know. I seriously did not know pickles would be such a hot topic. I mean, like,
Oh yeah, they are.
do you guys want us to do an entire show on pickles at some point? Because
Food of the week.
yeah, because forage food is
Why not?
legit. And,
That's important.
yeah, forage food and forage snacks are a serious thing. And pickles, we'll do a show on pickles. Sully,
Yeah.
Metal of the Week, pickles. Put that in the
You need the
I'll
fuel
have
for
to
the
wake up
forge
Brittany
and
for
the
that
fuel
one.
for the smith.
yeah.
Yep.
Dill versus bread butter. You shut your mouth. Dill all the way.
I like a nice mixture, but okay. Why pickles?
We got Mount Olive over here. I like that.
Yeah, it's got to have that snap, that Vlasic, whatever.
Yeah. Hey, we're going way off the
No,
rails.
yeah. Enough with the pickles, guys. Stop.
That's what she said.
I love pickles and yeah. But anyway,
I think I might make a pickle-shaped hammer.
on topic. Stop. Don't make me mute y'all.
Sorry, I couldn't help it.
Spurgrass.
All right.
Spurgrass has because he's graced us with his presence today, and keep in mind you have a professional blacksmith lurking, Roy. Speargrass, you have the floor with a topic that you have been wanting to, or a daily segment that you have been wanting to initiate for a while now. So let's move on
Take it away.
Yeah, take it away. Yeah, stop me from talking. Go. I've been drinking.
Hard to stop you from talking, Yamas. So today, guys, we are discussing a tool of the week. So most of you would have been here a few months ago when we discussed the most important tool to a blacksmith, and that was the anvil. The second most important tool, of course, that we're going to talk about this week, and arguably just as important, is the humble hammer. Now, surprisingly, the hammer. Every home has at least one, and it is a single tool that has likely changed the world the most. Now, from the standard claw hammer or carpenter's hammer to the sledgehammer, the hammer probably gets used, misused, and abused most. Around for millions of years, we've ended up with some highly specialized hammers, and even the simplest of today's hammers is light years ahead of the first one. So the first hammer, or what archaeologists were believed the first to be the first hammers, archaeologists have discovered in the first appearance of a tool that we can be called a hammer about 3.3 million years ago. 149 were found in Lake Turkana in northern Kenya in 2015. This was a hammer stone. So of course, it's exactly as it sounds there, guys. It's a piece of granite that was held in the stone and used to splinter more brittle stones like flint into cutting flint and obsidian into cutting tools and killing tools. After then, they began to perfect their technique. They formed and shaped axes, knives, and then even more intricate arrowheads and spearheads. Still later, these early humans used and formed the shards into wood carving tools to break open animal skulls, bones, shells, and even make jewelry. So this early proto hammer was literally little more than an elliptical heavy stone between 300 grams to a kilogram, which is about 2.2 pounds. So hammers have always been 2.2 pounds, and smoothly formed at the bottom of a riverbed or from the sea. The stone was used to hit an object which was sitting on a large flat stone like an anvil. So hammers and anvils have always gone together. If a more intricate point was needed, the stone hammer would be placed with smaller stone, bones, or ivory or antler hammers, which we would use for finesse, for finishing the new cutting tools. Now, 3.27 million years after we first started using stone for hammers, and thousands of years before the earliest cave paintings, the next stage of the hammer evolution came into being, the addition of a handle. So adding a handle to the rock to make it a little bit more useful. The stone was being tied to either a piece of wood or bone with leather, vine, sinew, hair, or other substance. Tying the head to the handle, creating the more familiar looking shape that we know today. So this had the effect of being able to add force, a lever being a force multiplier. Also, it helped reduce injuries. You can presume it helps reduce injuries to the hand from misstrikes and stuff like that. So it only took us 3.27 million years to think about putting a hammer handle on it. So now we take this for granted now, but this really was a game changer. It also allowed for greater precision when being used, and the hammer would have also been able to hit harder with less effort. Okay, so the introduction of metal tools was around 3,300 BC, 20,000 years after the handle was invented. The bronze hammer, or it's speculated it would have started off with copper, but of course the copper age didn't last that long, so it quickly evolved into the Bronze Age. And Bronze Age tools. The bronze tools were a huge step up and far stronger than their stone predecessors. The hammer particularly became the most reliable and is also speculated to be one of the earliest tools made. Not being held together by string probably helped. And these bronze hammers were used for many jobs, including many of the jobs they do today, including what we call blacksmithing, but also then would have been bronzesmithing, particularly for the hardening and of the work hardening of tools and edges and blades. So bronze gave way to iron over 4,000 years ago at the start of the Iron Age, and this led to the steel hammer. This led the steel hammer to evolve even more. Hammers were then made for specific jobs, from carpentry to blacksmithing and mining, and even law. The advent of iron and the strength of it provided led to hammers being adapted for just about any job. The earliest uses for iron and steel hammers was probably for the blacksmith, considering that every trade comes out of a blacksmith, followed by carpenter hammers and up to and even for war hammers for use in combat. But over the centuries, tradesmen and engineers have come up with more than 50 kinds of hammers, made from just about every type of trade imaginable, from soft mallets, hard dead blow hammers, what you would call the regular carpenter hammers we use at home. Is really just a long lineup of specialized tools, to the point that dental hammers exist and judges' gravels are also classified as hammers. Few tools have changed and evolved as much as the hammer, and when compared to the original, you can hardly recognize the crude stone hammers helped originate to what we use today. Today's hammers have gone through millennia of engineering and design improvements, and again, no hammer has changed the face. No single tool has changed the face of the world like the hammer. So, just to give some examples of some of the types of hammers that exist out there. So,
Have been, if I may pause, I have been.
yep.
I did a display capture, and I've got old hammers and stuff, and was sharing some pictures of hand stone hammers and stuff, just to kind of go along with. I'm trying to keep up, but I can't. So, but yeah,
Thought it was good.
Cheers. So we'll just go through some regular type of hammers, and I will focus on some blacksmithing hammers, of course. But just to give, so everyone generally knows what a claw hammer or carpenter's hammer looks like. So an offshoot of that, for example, is the electrician's hammer, which Yamez, you'd know what that's like, which is very similar to the claw hammer, except that it's a little bit flatter with the claw end.
An electrician's hammer, or when an electrician says "hand me my hammer," 9 times out of 10 he's talking about his linesman's pliers, because those are stout, heavy-duty pliers made for cutting heavy-duty wire, and have a great heft and are awesome. It's like, boom, everything's a hammer when everything's a nail. But
there's also tools like that. Like, for example, I own a pair of we call fencing pliers, which are pliers used for cutting and stuff like that for fencing, and it literally has a hammer face on one side and a spike on the other for driving in fencing nails. So it's U-shaped nails for holding in fencing wire to a timber post. So there's a lot of tools that have, because every tool's a hammer if you try hard enough. A lot of tools have actually added hammer faces to them to make them more versatile for the job that they need to do.
yeah.
And then, of course, you've got tools like drywall hammer, which is basically it's got an axe on one side and a hammer on the other, and a splitting maul for timber is actually classified as a type of sledgehammer.
If I may, on the drywall hammer, I found out because of the renovations I'm doing at the Windfall House that the hatchet side of the drywall hammer isn't actually to be swung as a hatchet, but it is basically a blade, so that you can, and they're all like a standard measurement, so you can flip it over to get a good measurement, and then slice it like a razor blade, and then flip it around and knock it so that it bends over, and it's not literally for hatcheting away at gypsum. Sorry, continue.
And then there's also other types of hammers that have started off in blacksmithing and ended up in other trades. So, for example, a ball peen hammer is something most people generally know as an engineer's hammer nowadays. Then, of course, we've got mechanics hammers or panel beaters hammers, which are finishing and planishing hammers that, of course, would have started with tinsmithing and armor smithing or blacksmithing, and have just transferred when blacksmiths, in the late 1800s, early 1900s, moved over into mechanics and started working on cars and working on car bodies, transferred those hammers over because they were useful and they did the job that they were needed at those times. Then, of course, you've got other hammers that have come out of other trades associated with blacksmithing, like a tinner's hammer. So tinner's hammer, of course, was for tinning for whitesmiths, which has now transferred into roofing. That's a very common thing. Then you've got completely odd hammers like the dentist hammer, which is of course for tooths, and the reflex hammer that doctors use to check reflexes on a person. So these are all different types of hammers that have all started off we started with rocks, and now we've got all this wide variety of hammers that we use. Now, particularly for blacksmithing, of course, I just mentioned the ball peen hammer, but then we've got the rounding or turning hammer. Now, both I've seen people argue about those. Both of those terms are actually correct. So it's a rounding hammer or a turning hammer. Generally, turning hammer is those used with those associated with farriers, horseshoes, because that hammer is quite literally used for turning the bar stock into a shoe. It's for making that lateral bend in the shoe, keeping the bar flat whilst bending on the wider axis of the bar stock. So then we've got things like straight peen and cross peen hammer. We have specialized texturing hammers, and then now flatters and stuff like that flatters aren't classified as a hammer, but your planishing tools, your planishing hammer, there are various different types of planishing hammers that exist. Pick a style, and there's generally one that you can use, but those are the mainstays of blacksmith tools. Now, that's not to say there's different styles of hammers that for every type of hammer. So, for example, the easiest one to start with is the cross peen hammer. So you've got your French pattern cross peen, your Swedish pattern cross peen, and then you go back even earlier, and you've got your Nordic style cross peens, and those styles of hammer, that's just in the cross peen. Then you find a similar range when it comes to straight peens, diagonal peens, and then you've got your rounding hammers and stuff like that. Looking at the difference between, for example, a Yamez rounding hammer and a B&B Forge rounding hammer, those are still two different styles. They're very similar, but they're still two different styles. Then you have ones that are more elongated in the body, between the eye and the faces. So and they different hammers types are different styles and different ways of using. So there is no such thing as a hammer that's used the wrong way, of course, unless you're using the side of the hammer, but there may be decent reasons why. But find a hammer that suits you and how you want to use it, and that's it.
Yeah.
Are there any comments from the I don't say
thousands
the peanut gallery, but
thousands?
Yeah, I was gonna throw in there. I mean, gosh, I had a whole lot of little quips to go along as you were going, but you were on a roll, so
yeah, nobody wanted to interrupt.
Right.
Yeah.
So the conversation kind of went around. Let me scroll back up. Anson was talking about was talking about
A stone
getting
hammer.
some hammers from Harbor Freight, and them being kind of being engineered backwards. It was becoming less useful over time, and it's kind of a thing with Harbor Freight being the Dollar General of tool store, so to speak. And as a just on a, it got me mentally going on a what do you call it?
I still love the place.
Mental tangent.
Yeah. It was a squirrel that ran by that I was following. And did you know that Snap-on owns 40% of Harbor Freight?
Really?
Yep. And a good many of their like mediocre whatever tools are actually manufactured by Snap-on. They're just not given the label, much like so like when you buy tools off the Snap-on truck, it's typically it's going off the truck, it's going to say Snap-on or Blue Point, and the ones that say Snap-on on them are manufactured by that company or a company they own. Whereas if it says Blue Point, it was manufactured by somebody else and sold to Snap-on to sell on their trucks or whatever. So Blue Point is other companies' tools that are sold on a Snap-on truck. Anyways, but Snap-on tools are sold in other places by other names, such as like Cobalt at Lowe's. It was I don't know if it still is, but was initially owned by and manufactured by Snap-on.
Yeah.
Huh. I did not know any of that.
And literally that's just where my brain went, because somebody brought up Harbor Freight tools and the low quality and this, that, and the other. I was like, well, they're not all trash.
Not all of them.
But there is some stuff like they do have a micrometer that's made out of plastic that I guarantee you cannot zero to the same twice. I mean, like it's
Yeah. I've gotten a
I can't.
screwdriver. I got a screwdriver set from
It's
Harbor Freight.
$4.99, and it's like you can't measure anything with it because you can measure the same thing 5 times and get 5 different measurements.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
I
got
got
one of those.
yeah, I got a screwdriver kit from them for work, and one of the flathead screwdrivers, and this is not an exaggeration. One of the flathead screwdrivers broke while unscrewing a wall plate. One of the easiest screws to unscrew in an electrician's lifetime.
Did it just like twist the point of the?
No, it snapped. It snapped it.
It snapped. Okay.
It snapped it. You know, and
Wow.
then I said,
Wow.
screw this, and I used my thumbnail to unscrew it.
Going back to Anson's statement about reverse engineering Harbor Freight hammers. Now people have to realize there are a difference between different. You get what you pay for basically when it comes to hammers, particularly nowadays. So you can repurpose a cheap hammer. But I mean, and people can go back, and I was at Sam Town's Bladesmith Forge early last year, I believe, and I did repurposed a hammer with Sam into a French style crossbeam. It was a little bit heavier than the one I already have. But we it was a mystery. It was an already existing hammerhead off a small mallet. And it was a mystery steel. We didn't know what it was. Now we reforged that into a French style crossbeam because that's probably one of my favorite styles of crossbeam. And we hardened it and tempered it, and it came out really well. I mean, it came out. It was a hardenable steel, but there are a lot of hammers out there nowadays which are case hardened. Now that's not to say you can't reforge them, but be aware that it's the carbon. You may lose some of the carbon content out of the faces of the hammers, but if you with hammers, you're better off if you're going to repurpose a hammer. You are actually better off reforging it as opposed to just cutting it, because if you cut it, then you're losing that bulk of the particularly if it's case hardened, you're losing the bulk of the case hardening that's on the outside, and you're left with ductile iron or some mystery stuff
a
in
common
the middle.
A common beginner hammer for those trying to get into blacksmithing or looking into it, and where they haven't done a whole ton of research, but they just want to heat some steel and beat some steel. A common beginner hammer is the 3-pound drilling hammer from Home Depot, and that hammer is a soft hammer that has been lightly case hardened. It is intended to strike chisels and such in concrete and whatnot. It's intended to be a striking hammer for struck tools. And now with that, like you bring up repurposing cheaper, lower quality hammers to be a better hammer, and when you're considering case hardened hammers, you often see it in some of the beginners groups and whatnot. People will take and, like you say, slice off and shape the face of a drilling hammer and then say, look, it's a hammer. It's like, yes, it's a hammer. Yes, it'll work. Here's how you can do it better, and hope they don't get all bent out of shape that you're trying to, that tell them they're wrong. And it's like, there's a lot of things that you can do to improve, that you need to do to improve, especially if you're going to turn them around and sell them. That's
On that note about beginners hammers, a really good beginner's hammer that doesn't take much work to turn from a general purpose tool into something you can use for blacksmithing is a 1.5 to 2 pound engineer's hammer, because it's a ball peen hammer. It is something that has been used for blacksmithing for thousands of years. It spreads the ball, of course, spreads the steel in all directions as opposed to a specific direction like a cross peen hammer. But the face of that can be polished and ground to a better take the bevels off so it's more even, and those hammers are just as cheap as, or can be just as cheap as those softer tool striking hammers for tools, whilst still being able to do the purpose that they're designed for, because most engineers hammers will be generally a hardened steel hammer. They may cost a few dollars more, but in the long run, this is a tool that you're going to be picking up and using for a longer period of time. And also, with that, if you are able to get a few for cheap, you can also reforge those hammers, particularly by knocking out, particularly if you get the timber handled ones, where you can knock it out and reforge the ball peen into a straight peen, a cross peen, a diagonal peen. For the, you have a base type of hammer that you're used to using that will keep approximately the same weight when you repurpose it, so that you actually have a cheaper, easier avenue into a variety of hammers, and also give, for a beginner particularly, will give you the option of being able to work with hardening and tempering as well.
Right. Roy brings up a good point for a beginner's hammers. A note about hammer hardening. If you are making a hammer for yourself or someone else, you may want to make it on the softer side of the C scale. Yeah.
I was going to add in on that. He also, mentioned on there he generally likes his hammers between 50 to 45 Rockwell, and I was going to say I was in the middle of typing because everything was 54. Did I say 45?
Yes, you did.
Yeah, 54. Dyslexia. I was typing out a whole response, and then I felt a window opening up. So I was going to say I kind of agree with that. Not that Roy would ever miss hit, but I have been known to miss hit, and I would much prefer that my hammer take the oomph than the face of my anvil. And
right.
So I really do prefer that the same way. I prefer it on the softer side that way, and that's why. I mean, just so that if I screw up, it's like, it's not that big a deal, I don't have to worry about it. I mean, I don't know why Roy would want something that soft. I mean, like, he can't miss. So, I mean, I've seen his videos. It's like spot on.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
not all of them might. There's a little bit more of a library there than I think it's possible for me to watch in my lifetime. But,
right. Like I haven't had a chance to watch his ice spud video. I just had a chance to comment, no, you're an ice spud. But I really don't, I didn't watch that because I personally don't think I'd ever make an ice spud because there's nothing in the market for me to do an ice spud. We don't get a lot of ice here. I think the sound is frozen over once since I've been here. But yeah, everybody, go to Roy's ice spud video and watch that. So it's a good indication of what you can do when you live in the tundra. And it's topical because he uses a hammer to make it.
I have a question for Roy there. If you and this might be in a video. I mean, like, I hate asking Roy a question because I feel like the answer is always I have a video on that. But I was just wondering if, because he's got that Rockwell tester, I was wondering if he ever just checked just for grins, if he's ever checked the hardness on the big anvil.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious what the hardness of your anvil of Olga is. I know that he's used the hardness tester on my hammers.
Quality anvils are between 52 and 56 HRC.
Yeah.
Right. But I mean, there is individual variation, between one and the other. I mean, like mine's right around 57. But I mean, so I was just curious if he checked. I mean, it doesn't really matter what it is.
I'm also
just curious
about Olga.
Yeah. Yeah, but we'll give him the 10-second.
Anyways,
I'm sure he'll answer.
Boy, the squirrels are plentiful this week.
Right? He's got a video on it.
54.
So you can go up and search on YouTube. Christ-centered ironworks. How hard is Olga?
Or HRC.
That's a sentence that, boggles the mind when you don't know who Olga is.
Yeah, it's amazing that you could you could
There you
throw
go,
into a
John.
Google search, how hard is Olga, and Roy's video will pop up.
Meanwhile, all these Eastern European Olga women are going, huh?
You want to see hard? I will show you hard. Come here, young man.
Oh man.
I will take you.
Um. Yeah, he did. I think he did use the scratch testers on a video on his hammer or on his channel, on his anvil. Thank you. Yeah, I shouldn't be push that bottle away from me. I swear, guys, I'm doing something from my memory. I'm taking Ginkgo Bilbo Baggins. So yeah, all those what's the word situations should slow down a bit. Yeah, ice fishing in a kilt, not gonna happen. Not gonna. I can't believe I got a kilt for a Christmas present, and it's like I'm not gonna really wear this until summer. So, uh, but yeah, it's uh, coincidentally, and this didn't come planned. I just thought of this now. Talking hammers, it's like it kind of ties into the metal of the week. Especially last week where we discussed 1045, which makes a decent hammer, and talking about things like Harbor Freight hammers and Home Depot drilling hammers and whatnot, what steels are used to make them. It's one of the reasons why we chose, and when Sully brought to me the idea of doing a metal of the week, I'm like, what a perfect idea, because it is for beginner blacksmiths, it is the one biggest thing that is so overlooked, and then when a beginner blacksmith learns about it, goes, what? There's different types of steel? It's something that somebody that doesn't deal with it doesn't think about. And so the metal of the weeks, just having that exist and seeing somebody go, wait a minute, there's different types of metal. Well, what metal works best for what? And talking hammers, you got 1045, you got 4140, 4150. I've never tried a 5160 hammer. You never, ever, 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 ever want to make a hammer out of 52100. I believe a prominent blacksmith learned his lesson there at one point.
Yeah. That does ring a bell.
Yeah. And it will ring your bell if you make one out of it.
Now, I'd like to caveat that. I don't believe that is necessarily true. If you had some just cold stock 52100 or cold rolled or hot rolled or whatever, I don't think it would be an issue. The issue is pressing one out of a ball bearing.
Yes.
Like you got a 2-pound ball bearing. You don't put that in a press and then reshape that into a hammer because of the stresses that ball bearing has already undergone in its initial shaping and hardening and all that. Getting it hot does not release those stresses, and they do tend to explode or crack, and they're just that's a really dangerous path to go down. But it's specifically those big ball bearings. I don't believe you'd have the same issue if you were just using a 2-pound chunk of 52100 round stock or square stock or something like that.
Yeah.
That brings up an interesting point there, Sally, talking about that in the sense of, particularly if you're buying old hammers from, say, a second-hand dealer or something like that, and you're just getting the hammer head, it's always a good idea to anneal those hammers and reharden them and temper them, because you don't know what they've been through. You don't know the use they've had in their lifetime. So by annealing those hammers, and of course that's, putting them in the forge and then letting them cool very slowly over a long period of time, 6 to 8 hours if you can in vermiculite. And letting them anneal, and then doing that 3 times, and then rehardening and tempering them. That will take those stresses that you don't know what exists in those hammers already, and take those stresses, or release those stresses somewhat, and then you're able to reharden and retemper them, so that you have a tool that you're starting off with a decent hardness, decent relaxation in the steel. You're locked in that from that point on, and it can also renew the life of those hammers. Something you should really do with your struck tools on a semi-regular basis as well, and I don't mean regular as in every week, but once every 2 or 3 years, or once every year or so, anneal and anneal and your struck tools as well, because of course by you're building up work hardness through those struck tools as well. So you don't want your hammers or your struck tools to chip and cause a gunshot like piece of steel to end up somewhere embedded in your body.
Yeah, much like what happened, and there's a video proof of it too. Mr. John Coffey from Coffey's Studio actually launched a piece of steel into Mr. Roy from Christ-Centered Ironworks in a video where they were working on actually a hammer. So yeah,
I do believe that was the first time John visited Roy, and the last, I believe. I'm pretty sure he was not invited back after that.
No, Roy's good people. He doesn't hold grudges.
I wanted to touch on John Burnell said something just a little while back. He asked if John Burnell said, "Am I the only person who uses a lot of hammers, no matter what they're making?"
Nope.
I see some guys who use one hammer start to finish, and to me, that's the equivalent of rebuilding your car engine with a crescent wrench. Boy, that is spot on.
Yeah.
I've got a wall of hammers that's. I mean, it's nothing like Alan Schooner or John Coffey's hammer collection, but they've got lots of hammers that they'll never even use that are just decorative wall hangers. But I have a whole like 22 hammers that each one has its own purpose. It's not like every one of them is a go-to for a certain thing. Every one of them has its purpose, and I use it for doing what it is. Like the other, I don't know, maybe 3 weeks ago, I was at our local little hardware store there in town. I live in a small town, and I was there in the local hardware store. I was picking up some PVC fittings for I don't know, a small like little repair project there at the house. And this guy on days off from a rig comes in, a roughneck, and he's like, hey, I'm kind of in a bind. I need a wrench. And the lady that works the counter, she's all like, okay, what, we got tools. We're back over here. What kind of wrench are you looking for? We've got crescent wrenches, we've got open end wrenches, box end wrenches, we've got pipe wrenches. What is it exactly you're looking for? He's like, ma'am, it really doesn't matter because I'm going to use it as a hammer anyways.
It all comes back to hammers.
On that note, though, the use of several different hammers, as you get more experience, you start using the right tool for the right job. But for those of you that are beginners in the chat or listening later on, using something like a ball peen hammer as your starter hammer is perfectly fine.
Absolutely.
Learning the techniques of what to do with hammers, but also there's going to be times where and we've all done it, where as opposed to grabbing the cross peen hammer or the straight peen hammer or not, we might use the tilting hammer method in order to quickly draw something out. And sometimes these are skills that you should learn, and you will only really learn by using a one hammer for a period of time whilst you're learning, because the versatility of hammers is like that. You can, if you don't need to aggressively draw something out, you only need to slightly draw something out. Using the tilted hammer method is a very effective way of doing it. So don't let the fact that a lot of us guys that have been doing this this hobby or this craft for a longer period of time have these collection of hammers. There's a lot of techniques that you can pick up and do, and like I said, like it's drawing out with the tilted hammer technique, or drawing out over the edge of the anvil, and your bending and stuff like that you can do without having to have these specialized hammers. We have these specialized hammers simply because it makes the job easier, not
Mhm.
because we don't have the techniques to do them without it.
I think I'm gonna get a pair of, or get a pipe wrench or something, and try and forge something using a pipe wrench, just to say that I have. That's impractical
Oh,
blacksmithing.
you know the curved little curved section on the back behind the right underneath the or right above the I don't know if it's above or below the thumb screw. You could totally I mean, like, it would be irritating if you had the jaw open and it was clanging around, but if you close the jaw up, I mean, I
And you
bet
got
you
a
could
flat
totally
space
forge
on one.
something
Yeah,
with that little back end of the pipe wrench.
yeah, maybe.
But if you're
I've
gonna do that, if you're gonna, I was gonna say, hold on real quick. If you're gonna do that, be a man about it and use a 48.
Sure. I
Like I
don't.
said, I've
You know,
actually
a 48,
seen
I've got a
someone.
48-inch pipe wrench.
I don't have one,
I've
but
actually seen pictures on the internet of someone who's actually welded a hammerhead, or the face of a carpenter's hammer, onto a shifting, what you guys would call a shifting wrench, or we just call a shifter, in order to turn the shifting wrench into a hammer as well.
I'll just take and use grip the hammer in the jaws, grip a hammer face in the jaws, and then call it a day. uh,
Oh God, wouldn't that be an awkward thing to swing?
right. But yeah. Brain. Come on, brain. Click, click, click. Words, things that come out the mouth and go into your ears to achieve conversational tone. John, love you. Hope you do better. I think you already clocked off, but yeah, Woody, give your love to John. He's going into surgery tomorrow morning. So yes.
Yeah, finally gonna do something about that face. Woo!
Yeah.
So yeah, so for those that are listening to this later and don't have access to chat, one thing that you have to also remember is a hammer that's softer than your anvil is not only a good thing because of the discussion we've just had previously, but also you have to remember that a cold hammer is always going to be harder than hot steel. So if you've watched any blacksmithing videos and stuff like that, you'll see on a semi-regular basis we sometimes use wooden mallets or wooden hammers in order to straighten or finish off some of our work, and that will still a wooden mallet will still shape steel if you get it hot enough. It might burn, but it will still shape steel. You can do the same thing with leather mallets and lead hammers and stuff like that. Not suggesting it's the wrong tool for the job, but it's hot steel is always going to be softer than a cold steel hammer. So and just to let you know what Roy from Christ Out Hard Works has said in the chat, don't get caught up in all this. This hammer is the best or this method is the best. You will learn what is best suited for you and your shop by your time at the anvil. Of course, there are certain best practices in the sense of how to grip a hammer and how to swing a hammer, but experienced smiths will generally say, use the hammer this way, not because it's not the best thing, not because and a lot of open-minded smiths like Roy Adams, like Yamez, like myself, we won't say this is the best way to do it, but we'll give you suggestions so that you can use the hammer to use the tool to the best of its ability whilst minimizing injury to yourself. And Yamez, of course, is showing off the Vegemite.
Sorry, I hear your voice and it's just like Vegemite, mate.
Yeah.
No, I was gonna. You read Roy's comment, and I was like just angrily pointing. Roy is right, and you bring up the open-minded Smiths, and it's like, yep. I mean, while we will never, ever, ever tell you cannot do something, we may point you in the correct direction, and the correct places to ask questions, and kind of give you that that ammo you need to find information or to discover on your own. But we will never, ever, ever tell you, nope, you can't start unless you have ... You can start with a rock, with 2 rocks, and a ground forge. We don't care. Just start.
I love being told you can't do something. I mean, because it might be true, but the first thing I'm going to say is hold my beer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me see what I can do. And, at the end of the day, I can be like, you know what? I'm not saying it can't be done, but I am saying I can't do it.
Yeah. And Roy brings up
much like throwing a big old chunk of copper into the forge and then trying to do a forge weld. I'm not saying you can't forge weld with copper in the forge. I'm saying I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
In retrospect, I have seen other people do it, but there was that rumor that if your forge is contaminated with copper, you'll never get a forge weld to stick. And I couldn't do it, but I've seen other people do it. So
Yeah. And as Roy just said, there's definitely objectively true methods of forging that are more efficient and effective for a particular operation, and then not in others. And that's exactly right. Like, using the right tool for the right job and the right technique for the right result, or the result you want to get, is absolutely necessary for efficiency's sake. However, it's like there's so many different ways, different techniques, different points of view, different tools, that in roundabout ways you can get the job done. It's just, as with anything, get from point A to point B the quickest and easiest. So it's like, and that's where the open-minded blacksmiths, that we are, we can say, yeah, do it. Pick up a pipe wrench and whack away at the steel, but here's a better way, whereas others would go, you can't use a pipe wrench for a hammer. I mean, you absolutely can. Should you?
Yeah. I've got something. Go ahead, Adam.
So there's also stuff like that we say in order particularly with hammer use, and this is keeping on top of hammers of the tool of the week, about safety. So for example, and I don't just mean safety as in keeping you from a serious injury in the short term. As someone that's had blacksmith's elbow, or which is slightly different from golfers and tennis elbow, it is an injury that it's a repetitive strain injury. So this is something that creeps up on you over time, and quite a few of us in the community have had this. And it can come from something from your death gripping the hammer, so you squeezing the hammer too high while you're swinging. It can come from your handles being too thick. It can come from your handles being too thin. It can come from your handles being made of the wrong material. So it can also come from not stretching and not warming up in preparation for a day of forging. You can't go from, particularly if you're someone like me that has a regular, and I do that in inverted commas, a regular job, or particularly an office job, and go from working 5 days a week in your office, sitting at your desk, typing on your computer, to 8 hours of swinging a hammer in the forge. You can't do that without warming up unless you can't do that without warming up, or you're going to injure yourself.
Yeah.
And you're going to end up with
it's like a tennis elbow.
Issues with yeah. And see, tennis elbow runs over top, golf elbow runs over the bottom, and I've found blacksmith elbow kind of runs in the ligament in the middle. It's really strange. It's not quite tennis and not quite golfer's elbow. It's kind of in the middle. But that's a long-term injury that if you don't deal with the base issue, can cause. I mean, when it affected me, it took me approximately 6 to 8 months
Same here.
to get back to the point where I was able to use a hammer without having to have a strap on my arm
Yep.
or without pain.
Yep. Very early in the beginning of my channel, because as the long-term subscribers know, I pretty much started my channel in the first couple weeks of me starting blacksmithing with the idea behind my channel is watch a completely new beginner learn and progress through the journey, you know. So if you go back to my very first videos, you get to see somebody who's, you know, so new to this that he didn't even know at that point that there were different steels. And I was using a 4-pound engineer's hammer and a 3-pound drilling hammer as my lightweight hammer. And it's like, yeah, for the first 6 to 8 months of those videos, you see me wearing a black strip right here. And that is because every single time or every single day for that entire period, I was in extreme pain from tearing and messing up those ligaments. And it has long since healed as I learned proper technique, proper grip, proper, you know, handle material, proper weight management for the hammer, the right tool for the right job, and use it the correct way. However, I didn't let the pain of learning stop me from progressing. So
Yes. I'd like to just kind of go back in the chat a little bit here. I kind of scrolled up and just kind of paused there for a minute. John Burnell said, over the years he's seen trends like you got to have this Hoffy hammer or French hammer
Yeah.
or Swedish hammer or Brazil style rounder, etc. Every few years it's a new trend, and I'd like to just kind of, you know, expand on that just a little bit. So like, I'm not gonna lie, my introduction to blacksmithing was YouTube recommending to me an Alex Steele video 4 years ago, and I'm just, I mean, like, and this is way back in the day, about the time that he was making the run of hammers back in the Barker Street Forge days, you know, when he was building all these hammers and selling them and whatever. And I remember seeing that one of his earlier videos, and I was like, holy crap, I didn't even know this was a thing. I didn't know people could do this. And I mean, that just opened up a whole thing. Well, anyways, at the time, you know, he was slinging these hammers, and I don't remember, they you know, at the time they seemed a bit pricey to me, but I thought they were very beautiful hammers, and at the time that was kind of like the trend in hammers. And I thought, man, one of these days I'd like to get me one of those style of hammers, whether it's an Alex Steele or a Brian Brazil or something like
Right.
that. I'd love to swing a hammer that neat, you know. And then in hindsight, or, you know, not in hindsight, but, you know, fast forward 2.5, 3 years, and of course by then I've already bought several hand forged hammers from other smiths, and I've made a couple turds on a stick that I could call. Yeah, I mean, yes, you can hit stuff with them, so you can call it a hammer. But and then we were at the hammer class there a couple of years ago, and Tim at Big Dog Forge, he brought an Alex Steele hammer with him, and I got to use that a little bit when I was forging my hammer in the class, and I can honestly say I didn't like it.
Mhm.
I mean, like, you know, I was like, it was like all this hype. I was like, all right, you know, and then I tried to use the hammer, and I'm like, hey, this thing just does not feel right to me, because, you know, I had developed you know, it was like, to be fair, it was like a 3.5-pound hammer, and that was just, to me, was very obtrusive.
Yeah.
The weight was wrong, the heft was wrong. It didn't balance right for me, and I was like, you know what? I've used it. Didn't like it. Not from now. I don't have to worry about seeing one for sale and go, ooh, I gotta buy that. It'd be like, nope, because honestly, if I'm not going to use it, I'm not going to
Exactly.
buy it. And so, you know, and I've got my go-to hammers that for me are the most comfortable, and it has nothing to do with who made it or whatever, because at the end of the day, it's just got to swing nice. That's all I care about.
Yeah.
I don't care if me and my daughter made a hammer together. I mean, and if it swung good and it was all like kind of crooked and the fullers don't match because, you know, she's not that accurate just yet, I don't care. If it swings nice, I'll use it, you know. I mean, rather, and I'm not even getting into the fact, you know, like, oh, because me and my daughter made it, it's sentimental. I mean, I was just kind of using that as an example, because my daughter does like to get out there and help me in the forge from time to time, but you know, but I mean, it can be made by a nobody, and if it swings good and the weight is just right and the balance is right, I'll use it. And what it looks like is irrelevant.
Yeah, that's.
Indrant.
And on that as well, and a little bit early in the chat, you know, we had people talk about their, you know, like Trail Dust said, my daily driver is a 2.5. 2.5 pounds now that I'm aging and decomposing it, scaling back. So that's about 1 kilo for those of it that use metric. Now, that's not to say that there is a general guide to the weight of hammers that a lot of us talk about, like our daily drivers are generally around 2 to 2.5 pounds. That's because that's comfortable for us. But that's not true for every smith. Now I've talked about him many times. My friend Sam Towns, he uses a 5-pound hammer for his daily driver.
Yeah,
He is a monster.
he's
of a
also
man. He is
half
a big-
giant, you know.
Exactly.
Like,
so he can use that, but that's comfortable for him as well. And he gets a lot of work done with. And of course,
Hagrid.
he's a bladesmith and a toolsmith. But he gets a lot of work done with that 5-pound hammer, and he swings it like a monster. Now I've swung that thing, and I couldn't swing it for more than 5 minutes without exhausting myself or doing serious damage. But that's not to say that a heavier hammer. I have a 3.5-pound hammer in my toolkit that I use for when I've really got to move steel aggressively. So your daily driver is the one that you pick up, or daily drivers are the ones that you pick up and use in a long time. But that's not to say that a heavy hammer won't be useful to you, or that a heavy hammer is not suitable to you. Find a hammer that's suited to your size, that you feel comfortable with, that you're not exhausting yourself with, and that you can use regular. And of course, when you're starting out, you're not going to go from not doing any blacksmithing to spending, every weekend or every day spending 8 hours in the forge. Build yourself, just like any workout, build yourself up to it. Do 2 hours, do 3 hours, do 4 hours, work yourself up.
Yeah.
Sam is a friend to a lot of people on this. Sam is a friend to a lot of people. He's a friendly, he's a BFG. He's a big friendly giant. But and we love Sam here. But it's just that I have the privilege to call him a good friend, because I speak to him on a fairly regular basis, and he's someone that's very close to my heart, and that I had the opportunity to go out and hang out with. Of course, I consider all you guys my friends. I just haven't had the opportunity to go and hang out with you yet, because I'm on the other side of the world at the moment.
I will say that, Ben Toombs brought up that his Dan Moss 3-pound, class hammer is his great fitting hammer. That's my throwing hammer. When I'm frustrated in the shop and need a tool to throw, that's my go-to throwing hammer.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Ben also said earlier that, like, people told him he can't do stuff.
Yep.
I mean, like, I'd like to expand on that, Ben. I don't think you can do shit either. Prove me wrong.
I don't know.
True.
I've seen him.
No,
I will say that.
Just kind of making a joke about Ben not doing anything, but
I will say I did not lie. I have lots of friends. You guys are all my friends. I will say that we are just past the hour mark. So I could keep going, but I know that Sully's tired, and Speargrass is tired, and they didn't want to wake up, and once they got up and finally decided, all right, let's do this show. It turned into a great show. But I'll leave it to my glorious co-hosts on whether or not they want to take this into an hour and a half show or not.
Oh, I'm up for the day. So I mean, like, it makes no difference to me. The only thing I got going on today is I've got clips to shoot for a couple bits, a couple video shorts.
I've got coins to make.
Maybe later tonight I'll do some editing and put them together and get them uploaded to various platforms. But I was gonna say, like, we're talking about, like, hammer size, whatever your go-to hammers, and like my the hammer I use most often is the hammer we made in hammer class, and it has nothing to do with the class or anything like that. It just has to do with, like, I love the way that it's a 3-pound hammer. So I mean, like, it's not, and granted, I don't forge all day. Like, Roy uses a pretty lightweight hammer, in a 1.75 pounds.
Yeah.
But Roy does it all day long. I might forge for 2 hours a week. That might be all the time I get in the forge. So I can swing a 3-pound hammer, and it's not going to be a big deal, because I was out there for 2 hours, and if you counted all of my hammer blows, I was probably swinging a hammer for 10 minutes the whole time. But I just like the way that hammer moves metal. And then there are that is just for general forging. But then for other stuff, I've got lighter hammers and different shape. I mean, everybody does. And so, you know, if I'm doing leaves or something like that, working on tapers, I'm not using that 3 pound hammer for that. I've got a little 1.5 pounder that is just
Oh,
perfect, and
yeah.
I can almost swing it without effort, you know, and it just the rebound just sits there and just works it, ding 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 ding, you know, and it takes almost no effort. So,
Adios, Troy.
you know, the right tool for the right job.
Yeah.
In any case.
It's also, you know, technique. Hammer size boils down to, as well as what you're comfortable with as in technique. Is your technique to grip it and rip it, or to use physics on your side, like Roy preaches, physics on your side, and use the momentum of the swing to put the force behind the blow instead of the weight of the hammer, you know, and yeah, so it's like, it's neither is wrong. It's what turns out to be right for you. I just, yeah, saw that, and it's
Agree
like,
with that. Yeah.
yeah, it's what turns out to be right for you. Two different, seemingly opposite techniques, both
Well,
can be used.
that was a weird comment to have be held.
What?
Oh, you know, as a admin or whatever, you know, when a
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I saw that. Yeah.
and I mean, it's like, you know, we get the whole comment is held for review, and I mean, and I saw that pop up, and then it was approved right quick. I didn't see who, but I
That
was
was
like,
me.
and I'm reading the comment, I'm like, what? Okay.
See, now, for those of you listening in the back and not paying attention, and or not seeing the chat and whatnot, what just happened was Robert Lonis made a comment, and YouTube's censorship algorithms, I guess you want to call them, like, they have their buzzwords that they don't want, that they consider, do you really want this on your channel? And before anybody in the chat can see it, you know, admins and moderators and the channel owner can see the comment and approve it or disapprove it. Obviously, I'll take this moment to kind of clarify, if you make a comment and it doesn't get approved, that's nothing against you. That's like, you know, either A, YouTube flat out said this is not allowed on the channel, you're not even going to see it, or, you know, it goes against the kind of general, I don't really have channel or chat rules, but it kind of goes, if it's political, overly religious, you know, completely off topic, or you know, excessive language issues or whatever, you know, it's not the place, not the platform. You know, I believe 100% in free speech, and I am completely anti-censorship. However, a modicum of decorum is necessary, and it's weird to see something. The comment in question says, I have a Farrier style crosspeen that is 2 pounds that I find myself grabbing all the time. I'm assuming the phrase grabbing all the time was what kicked the YouTube algorithms. Because,
Yeah, because crosspeen has never kicked it off before either, and that's like, I was completely stumped because I'm reading the comment and I'm like, I don't understand why that was flagged.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I that's way off topic, but I mean, it just boggled my mind when I saw it. I was like, what?
As we wind down the video, as we wind down the episode, you know, that's a kind of an interesting little side topic of its own, is the way the channel works, the way these episodes kind of work, and all that stuff. You know, it's something that's semi been on my mind for months and months now. That, like, yeah, if you're in my chat and you're of the mindset of, you know, don't delete my comment, or don't, you know, like, why did you blah blah blah, and get bent out of shape, it's like, it's nothing personal. It's, you know, there's time and place, you know. I am 100% free speech, 100%, you know, why is that censored, blah blah blah, but it goes back to platform, time, and place.
there are certain phrases that like we won't even see,
Yeah.
and you'll know it. You'll know it because it'll flag you and say your comment violates our community standards and guidelines, and we won't even get the opportunity to see it.
Yeah.
It'll just tell you, no, you can't say that. Now, if the words are, the words that are triggered in the by the algorithm, if they're completely out of, I mean, because not in that respect, but other things, like with that comment right there, I mean, the algorithm doesn't necessarily know what you're trying to say, and so
It
it
gives us
throws
the
it up and
opportunity
gives it to
to,
us to be like, hey, is this cool or not? And
yeah,
and most of the time, we'll let it go through,
yeah.
and not always. I mean,
So,
like I would say not, yeah, not always.
yeah. So if you make a comment and you don't see the comment in the list, look at your comment, look what you wrote, and be like, okay, did I swear in it? Oops, sorry, and then rewrite it because I've had to stop comments that were like, good paragraph of solid information, but ends with or whatever I don't know at the end of it, and it's like, retype that comment. Just don't swear. I'd like to release that information. Just it's like, keep it family friendly. Which in a conversational chat, it's like we're all adults, we're all we're all big boys. We can I curse like a sailor, off the channel anyway. Like it's pretty much when I click end, and it's like I give the all clear to the guests and the other hosts. I'm like, first words out of my mouth are just wrong for YouTube broadcast, but but yeah, it's kids do rewatch this stuff, and and kids do watch what we stuff, and I prefer to keep it.
Hardening Hammer said, "What's your thoughts on the red hot metal absorbing the impact of the hammer? The question is,
Thank you
is the spring back of the anvil lost by the absorption of the red hot metal?" So Roy did answer this. He said the kinetic energy is absorbed into the workpiece, and some is returned the hammer stroke. The ratio will be according to how hot the piece is. The colder the workpiece becomes, the more energy is returned the hammer, and the less rebound absorbs. Now, and that is true. The hotter the metal is, the less rebound is absorbed. The colder it is, the more is absorbed. Which is how a lot of smiths, particularly experienced smiths like Roy, figure out that something is a bit too cold because they feel the vibration through the handle and a little bit more rebound. If you're getting less rebound, then of course, and you feel it's something you pick up through experience and time at the anvil of feeling not only visually but feeling how hot or cold the steel is through what it feels like through the hammer, and of course also through the tongs. You do have 2 points of contact when with the work when you're working. So you might, depending on of course what you're doing, but you can feel how that reacts to you. So as Roy just said, you also lose some of the friction and depression of the hammer face and the anvil face, but that's negligible. So yeah, so that, to answer your question there, Breeding Hammer, it depends on how hot it is. You do with in the ideal situation, you would lose 90 to 100% of the force into the steel. That's not exactly how the physics work. You lose most of it into the hot steel. You lose some as it passes through into the anvil and some in rebound. But the more you can put into that workpiece, the more efficient you're going to be with your hammer blows. And it's the reason why, those of us that are more experienced will use something like a cross peen in order to draw out, or use the horn of the anvil or the edge of the anvil, because it's focusing that force into a smaller area in order to increase the efficiency of that force.
So yeah, in that's a lot of words. And I guess what the question is what good is spring back of the anvil if it doesn't really do anything when the metal is soft?
is a myth.
Think of it.
Well, it's not really, because you got to remember, for thousands of years, people forged on rocks, people forged on bronze anvils, people forged on cast iron, or sorry, wrought iron anvils. Springback has been something that has only really come into prominence since the proliferation of tool steel faces on anvils. Now, Springback does help a lot
Yes.
of at some depending on your school of thought when it comes to blacksmithing. A lot of farriers do this and they tap the anvil, and a lot of blacksmiths do it and they tap the anvil. So there are some smiths out there that believe tapping the anvil is a waste of time, and it does nothing except for damage the face of your anvil. A lot of people say it's for rhythm, that's what I use it for. I tap the anvil in order to get into the rhythm of hammering, because it helps me moderate my blows and stuff like that. It's yeah, as Roy just said, the springback is a reflection of how well the hammer and anvil is at resisting deformation. It's it doesn't really assist in the actual work when you're working with hot steel, but springback with a hardened tool face, from the research I've done, I can't say it's overly extensive, but it also helps. Originally, it helped determine the quality of the anvil, because if it had a tool steel face, those anvils would last longer in a workshop than a cast iron anvil. They wouldn't end up with sway back as easy, and they were better tool for quality at the time. Nowadays, when most things are steel, if you work on a mild steel block of steel, sway backing or deformation will happen over time, and you can see that's true when you pick up a Harbour Freight anvil or a Bunnings anvil in the case of Australia, and you miss swing and you hit the face of the anvil, and the face of the anvil will deform because your hammer's harder than the face of the anvil. That will happen with a softer anvil. When it's hardened, it's not going to do that, which is where the idea of springback originally seems to have come from my understanding of the research that I've done.
Nice. Thank you, Sully, for the $5 super chat. You didn't have to do that. I feel like I should be paying you.
I mean, I forgot to pay. I forgot to pay you earlier in the week for you letting me to do this. So
What? Wait. Do we have an agreement?
You do that, and people are going to think they can just pay to get on the show.
Hey, yeah. You know what? I'm not gonna. I'm
not saying they can't.
Yeah. Feel free to pay to have the privilege to speak on this platform. Feel free to pay.
I don't care, Yamas, I'm not paying.
Oh.
Well, we'll just mute you right quick.
I was going to say, it's a privilege for you guys to have me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's say I'm broke. Why do you think I'm so quiet?
But yeah, with all. Thanks, Sully. Yeah, see, that's the. Roy is still just typing away, almost to the point where I don't want to end the show, because he's sharing some amazing information with Britain Hammer. That's almost, that right there would kind of go into a technique.
And now he's scared to get on the voice chat. We know how that goes. So maybe after we get the stage set up,
Well, okay, yeah. So, did I mention the stage already?
You briefly.
Okay, for those, kind of
really
a good
describe how it works, but.
Well, okay, let's do this. For the end of the show here, I will show you guys how stages work. All right, I'm going to go into Blacksmiths Church stage. For those of you who are currently in, I would like you to join me. You guys can see this on screen here. Start stage. So the way this has it, I have one speaker, one current speaker, and people that are in audience. The people who are in audience cannot speak. Like you cannot hear them, at all. So if I could get, looks like Robert Lonis has raised his hand. Still waiting on, there he is. I've got one hand raised, but since they're hosts, where'd Speargrass go? Oh, he's in here. Okay, yeah. Stage moderators are automatically allowed to speak. They can pop in. Let me hear you, Speargrass. Well, I know. Yeah, talk. Say something. You went green.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can hear you.
Okay, cool.
Solbert is a stage moderator. He can hop right in. I think. Or you see people raising their hands. Okay. Show requests. I can, see requests to speak, and it goes down the list. And I can invite to speak one at a time or what have you. And that would allow them to hop in, right? Should allow them to hop in. Yeah. But so this will be kind of a moving forward way to do this. Sully, I think you need to press move to speaker at the bottom right here where I could. Yeah, there you go.
Oh man, that was actually surprisingly more difficult than I thought it was going to be. I could not figure it out. I'm asking questions. Y'all are ignoring me, and I'm like, what the heck?
Yeah, you have to click.
I couldn't figure it out either, but then a thing popped up.
When you raise your hand, I get a notification and click allow to speak. And then you get the invitation. It either comes up at the top of the screen or right here where it says move to speak or accept invitation. And then you can move in to speak and become a participating member. If you're just here to listen and not to speak, you can stay in the audience and then raise your hand when you want to say something. This will make it easier when we have, say, a guest speaker like Roy, and bazillions of his followers follow him over here and all want to take the chance to, talk with Roy in voice, where we don't have one person just talking over everybody, or everybody talking over each other. We can have a queue of people who want to ask questions, give them the time to ask a question, receive the answer, then move back into the audience. It makes it so much easier. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. I can dig it.
If you want to fanboy out, you're gonna have to go to Quad State.
Yeah. I mean, you're welcome to come here and ask a question. It gives us an easy way to kind of manage the voice chat as it grows. Okay. Yeah, bazillion. Everybody knows Roy and his bazillion. His bazillion follower army. Still waiting. I still want to do
bazillions.
Yeah.
Also to let you guys know that there is going to be a learning curve with this stage thing as well. Like John Brunel just said, mine says hand raised disabled. Now that may be because we've currently got 5 people on stage to chat. So
let's try this.
So we will have to remove, like in future episodes and stuff like that. We will remove people back to the chat so that we can add a new person in order to have a chat. So we're going to figure this out as we go along. But there will be some teething problems as well, as it always is. But
yeah. And there's the create and view events. I think Rob Huff last week created an event, and I didn't see it until we were in the show. And I can create an event so that people know that it's coming, and all that fun stuff. It's just it's a tool for Discord that we should use, and it is underused. Is this all moving over to Discord now? Stephen Parsons, no, it's still a YouTube chat. This is just a way, because the way we run the show is we allow anybody in the YouTube chat to come over to Discord, hop on voice, and ask a question, in person, to allow more of a community feel to the show. And some of the behind the scenes stuff we have working, it may increase in its popularity, hopefully.
Yeah, we're being proactive in trying to get, pardon my French, but we're trying to get our shit together and get everything organized so that everything runs smoothly. And granted, we're still going to have some faux pas here and there.
Yeah.
But we're just trying to get everything, all of our ducks in a row, before we drop the hammer, so to speak.
Yeah.
This is just part of it, of making everything more organized.
Yes.
So that we don't wind up with 3 or 4 people trying to talk over each other that aren't just like, because me, Yamez, and Adam from time to time are, it's this neat interaction, not neat, but irritating interaction of, it's either we're all trying to say something at the same time, or all of us are out of something to say at the same time. And so trying to get all of that stuff spread out so that it's even, and we don't have dead air, and we don't have people talking at the same time. And we're typically pretty good about the talking over part. But when we get somebody in that is not used to broadcasting, so to speak, and they just keep talking and talking and talking, and then when you try to interject, they don't pause. It's like, it becomes this thing that for everybody else, it becomes irritating.
Yeah.
So now we have a way to kind of moderate that, so to speak.
Yeah. And for the record on that, for anybody listening, if ever, we get to the point where we have hundreds of people in the audience, or hell, just 5, and you come on to speak and ask your questions and whatnot, and then are put back into the audience, don't take that as a slight. Don't take offense. We heard your question. We're going to answer it and discuss it and go over it. And then if you have another comment or question, you can raise your hand again. It's just a boom. We can still see on YouTube. Yeah. We are not moving.
Still gonna be here.
Yeah, we are not moving the show from YouTube. This is a part of the YouTube show, is the community aspect where you get to see what is going on. You can see how I have Adam, Johnny, and Sobert on the show with me. And when we have, like in this instance, we 3 kings, are the hosts, whereas Wartree would be a guest speaker,
Indeed.
And so on and so forth. If Roy were in here, he would be in here right here as well. And then
Roy is in here.
Oh, Roy is in here? Yeah.
Yeah, he's in the audience.
Yeah. And just because Roy's in the... I can click and invite him to speak, but I mean, it's like, if he don't want to, he don't have to, I hope one day to pre-plan an episode where Roy is the premier guest speaker, where he puts up a post and a video and an advertisement to his gaga bazillion, followers to say, hey, everybody, I'm going to be, answering questions over on Island Metal Forge Sunday morning gathering.
Well, I don't know, Yamez. That seems a little pretentious.
Absolutely. I will not lie. It's like, I focus on live streams.
We're not above shameless self-promotion here.
Right.
I focus on live streams almost exclusively right now, and YouTube's algorithms are like, you can't do that, and like only people who are Yeah.
I'd just like to expand on the comment about the YouTube thing. It's not that we're not moving. We're just going to be more widely available. We'll just put it
Yes.
that way. That's what we're working on, being more widely available.
Yeah. You don't need to be on Discord. You don't need to be in the audience. Okay. The audience would be pretty much there for if you have a question to ask, and you don't feel like typing it out. There will be enough people in the YouTube chat, and I prefer anybody in the audience also be in the YouTube chat, or in the watching on YouTube, because otherwise my views will just drop. But yeah.
What's the deal with everybody saying they're not being able to raise their hand?
I am not certain. I've got no requests. Allow requests from add everyone.
So this is one of those teething issues that we're talking about. So I just clicked on the request, and the allow requests from everyone at the top was switched off.
Okay,
so
yeah, that would be my bad. Okay.
Yeah.
So
just to let everyone know in the chat, and those of you that don't have access to Discord, you can still type your question in chat. We're staying on YouTube.
Yeah.
We're not going anywhere. And we're still going to be monitoring the chat. So your questions will still get answered.
Mhm.
This is just an opportunity for those that we have as guests, so that we can have them as a featured speaker. Invite those of you that have access to Discord to come in and speak with your favorite smith, or voice a chat, and then we're able to go, okay, thanks for that, and then kind of like a call-in radio show type thing, where you have the chance to ask the question that you need to of whichever expert that we happen to have on the show, if we have any experts. I know I'm an expert. It's that's just a big drip under pressure, but and then we have the opportunity to put you back in the audience, so you can either hear directly on and as well watch it on YouTube, being answered over YouTube as well. So when it's not leaving Facebook, nothing is changing. This is just an extra tool that we're putting into our toolbox, just like the right hammer for the right job, so that we have more access and can do the job even better to help entertain you and inform you and do all those wonderful things, and interact with the community a bit more directly.
Yeah, it's a feature to the YouTube show. It's a feature to the YouTube show. Okay. It's not a replacement to the YouTube show. In addition to that, midweek, say there's a topic, hey guys, we're gonna randomly host a stage where it's not on YouTube, and hey, just let's answer some questions and host like a little like mini-sode. We can do that through Discord. So yeah, it's just another feature to the blacksmithing community.
Does it work? Am I in?
Yeah, you're in.
People hear me?
You are in.
Does people love the sound of my smooth and sultry voice?
We do for sure.
Hold on.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I'm trying. I had a dozen very inappropriate comments pop into my head, and it's like, nope.
If only I had a sound bar ready to go. I mean,
But
I'd probably get on that.
I'm not I'm not one to. One of my first jokes to Roy was, him and Jess standing, and I've apologized. They've accepted my apology and said it's no big deal. But it's just so funny to me that at the first time I met Roy and we were by my at the Hammer Inn and everything, and I said, hey, right in front of Roy and Jess, I go, Roy, come over here. We could beat my wife together, because I called my anvil my wife. And it didn't click. It didn't click until like the next 3 days later, and I called Roy and I'm like, I'm so sorry. Tell Jess I'm so sorry. And it's one of my favorite stories. I love it.
What were you doing when that popped into your head, the realization?
I was sitting here on the couch watching something, and I'm like, did I just say that to Roy? It was days later. It was days later.
That's awesome.
Also, if I may, I don't know if anybody is video friendly right now or video appropriate, but if any of my listener or stage speakers is video appropriate right now, there is the option to, I think, share video. But
no, every other week I'm ready to go just in case of that, but not today.
No, actually, I think.
I mean, I'm not doing my show in the naked or nothing, or in the nude. It's just, I mean, like my hair is every which direction, and I mean, like I'm just literally just wearing my bathrobe.
Normally, I'm set up with one of my Canons, but my computer don't work with them now.
I don't think that in Stages. 10. I think Stages is audio only, which is fine.
That is possible.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. I don't see
an option either. Anyway.
Nope. I know normally in the normal thing, like I've got the little option at the bottom for video, and then it says video permissions are not allowed or whatever. Which, I mean, honestly, I always click those on accident, not on purpose, because of our we don't have enough. What do you call it?
Clout?
We don't have enough
bandwidth.
Nitro. We don't have enough server boosts for the bandwidth to really be efficient with videos.
Yeah. Now, if we ever do a episode where something video is required, we do have the option to go into the Blacksmiths Church chat, which does allow video. But anyway.
Well, no, but I'm saying, but that's still going through that was kind of my point. That's still going through Discord.
True.
And just our allowable bandwidth through Discord isn't really yet conducive to video. I think we're still 4 or 5 server boosts short of having enough where we could just stream video all the time and it's not a big deal. We just get a little bit of buffering and the video quality is reduced as it currently is, and so audio is really the most efficient way. I would honestly say that if we're going to do a video thing with somebody, it's better right now to go through Skype. Just because we don't have there's not a software limiting of bandwidth in that respect. The only limit is going to be the host's internet. In this case, Yamez.
Yeah, which, as we know, has issues. But anyway, I just wanted to kind of end the show with that tidbit of upcoming information and whatnot. Yeah, and I've got my eye on the clock. I hear you, Speargrass.
So, on that note, if we're finishing up, just like to let you guys know, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, and check out Yamez's other videos here on Island Metal Forge. We also go live Sunday morning gathering every week. I believe it is at 10:30 a.m. Eastern in the US.
10 a.m.
Is that
Eastern.
correct there, Yamez?
10 a.m. Eastern.
10 a.m. 10 a.m. Eastern, 12:30 a.m. on the Monday morning, around midnight Australian Central Standard Time. You can find Yamez at Island Metal Forge here on YouTube. You can find me at Speargrass Forge also on YouTube, and don't forget to check out social media pages for those, and Sully over at Transcendental Ironworks also on YouTube. Don't forget, you can join the Blacksmith Church chat, particularly as we move over to our stages, and where you have the opportunity to join in the chat live every week. If you have a question, and if you have access to Discord, alternatively, join us on YouTube and post your comment or question in the chat, and we will get around to answering it as soon as possible. We have segments on Tools of the Week, and we also have segments on the Seal of the Week. If you have any suggestions for Steel of the Week, pop over to Discord or flick us an email at islandmetalforge@gmail.com, and we will add it to the Metal of the Week tag on Discord, and we will get round to chatting about that as soon as possible. And also any other issues or questions that you have, you can also pop it in the middle of the week or flick Yames a message via email or type it in the chat.
My marketing manager, everybody. That was beautiful.
So, any final thoughts from everyone?
Slow clap, everybody. Slow clap.
Wow.
So, Yamis, do you have any final thoughts?
Thank you. I feel special now. No, final thoughts was great show. Thank you guys all for being here. Thank you all for the awesome conversation about hammers, and your awesome questions and all that stuff. I'm using awesome too much. Get out of it. Get out of it. Get out of it. And your amazing stuff. Thank you all for participating and putting up with this last half hour of us discussing the Discord stuff. Hope there's no confusion about it. If there is any confusion about it, feel free to ask questions, shoot me an email, or in the Discord there is a section for Discord use discussions for tutorials, and if you have a question on how to do something, we can help you. The Discord link is in the description below, and yeah. Solbert, you got anything?
Do you have any?
Oh wait, what was that, Speargrass?
I was just saying, Sally, do you have any final thoughts?
Man, not really. I don't have a whole lot other than, it's a little bit chilly out there. So if you guys are going to be out in the forge or even outside working, be sure to stay warm. And don't forget that even though it's cold outside, you still need to stay hydrated. Okay, you might not really think about that, especially if you got a lot of stuff to do outside or something. You might not think about it. So you stay hydrated, stay warm, and hey, wear your PPE. So y'all have a great week.
You have a great week. Thank you, Wartree, for popping in.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yep.
Y'all have a great week.
All right.
Finally, my final thoughts is, guys, don't forget that the next project is only as far away as your forge. So get out there, pick up your hammer, light that forge, swing that hammer, even if you only have one. Do what you can and try and make your dreams a reality.
Very well put.
Every day.
Clicking
Every day for me.
and stream and and we're